The history of Islam in Africa is a remarkable story of the spread of faith, culture, and civilization, one that began not with conquest, but with justice, compassion, and wise invitation. The first bearers of Islam on this vast continent were not conquerors with swords, but a small group of believers who fled persecution in Makkah, an event known as the Hijra to Abyssinia, today's Ethiopia. It was through this migration that Islam first set foot on African soil. Carried by the Prophet Muhammad's companions, the true pioneers of Islam in Africa, around the 5th year of prophethood, 615 CE, the persecution of Muslims in Makkah grew unbearable. They were tortured, isolated, and brutally oppressed. Seeing their suffering, Prophet Muhammad instructed some of his followers to migrate to a land ruled by a just king, a land where they could worship Allah freely. That land was Abyssinia, and its ruler was King Negus. Ashama ibn Abj. He was a devout Christian known for his fairness and compassion. This decision by the Prophet would become a turning point, opening the first door of Islam to the African continent. The first group consisted of about 11 men and 4 women, led by Uthman ibn Affan and his wife Ruqayya bint Muhammad, the Prophet's own daughter. They crossed the Red Sea and arrived safely in Africa, where they were warmly received by King Negus. When the Quraysh of Makkah heard of this, they sent emissaries to demand that the Muslims be returned. What followed was one of the most defining moments in Islamic history, the meeting between Ja'far ibn Abi Talib and King Negus standing before the king. Ja'far spoke with calm dignity. He described the teachings of Islam and recited verses from Surah, telling the story of the birth of Jesus, Isa, alayhi salam. The verses deeply moved King Negus, who wept upon hearing them. Indeed, he said, what you recite and what Jesus brought come from the same source. He refused to return the Muslims to their oppressors. From that day, Abyssinia became the first safe refuge for Islam beyond Arabia. Later, King Negus secretly embraced Islam, making him the first non-Arab ruler to accept the message of Prophet Muhammad. The Hijra to Abyssinia was not merely an escape. It was the birth of Islamic civilization in East Africa. The Prophet's companions who settled there spread Islam through noble character, honesty, and justice, not through force. From Abyssinia, Islam gradually spread to nearby regions such as Sudan, Eritrea, Somalia, and along the East African coast. Muslim traders who followed later expanded this influence peacefully through trade and Meanwhile, in North Africa, Islam spread during the era of the rightly guided caliphs, especially under Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab. Under his command, Amr ibn al-As led the Muslim army to conquer Egypt in 641 CE from Byzantine control. Yet this conquest was unlike any other. It brought liberation, not oppression. The Egyptian people, weary of Byzantine taxation and religious conflicts between the Coptic and Roman churches, welcomed Islam as a relief. Amr ibn al-As guaranteed freedom of religion and reduced the heavy taxes. Through fairness and good governance, Islam spread rapidly among the people. From Egypt, Islam flowed westward into Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. The pioneers of Islam in these regions, companions, scholars, and local leaders, introduced Islam not merely as a faith, but as a comprehensive way of life, covering law, ethics, and social order. The city of Kerawang in Tunisia became a beacon of learning and one of the oldest Islamic centers outside Arabia. It was from here that later generations of scholars carried Islam deeper into West Africa. In West Africa, Islam took a different path, spreading peacefully through trade and brotherhood. Arab and Berber traders crossed the Sahara, carrying not only goods like gold and salt, but also values of justice, education, and monotheism. Through these interactions emerged great Muslim empires, such as the Mali Empire, ruled by Mansa Musa, one of the wealthiest and most generous rulers in world history. He built mosques, established schools in Timbuktu, and made Islam the moral and cultural foundation of his kingdom. The pioneers of Islam in Africa were not only early companions or powerful kings, but also merchants, scholars, and local preachers. Along the East African coast, in places like Zanzibar and Mombasa, Islam thrived through traders from Oman and Hadramaut. They married into local families and gave rise to the Swahili civilization, a blend of Islamic, Arab, and African culture. Even today, the Swahili language remains infused with Arabic words, a living legacy of Islam's enduring influence. Across East and North Africa, Islam shaped new social identities. It was not merely a religion, but a symbol of unity, justice, and knowledge. In West Africa, it uplifted communities through education and fair governance. In Ethiopia, Islam coexisted peacefully with Christianity for centuries, a testament to the tolerance first shown by King Negus. And throughout Africa, Islamic leaders and teachers fought slavery, injustice, and tyranny, upholding the dignity of all human beings under the banner of La ilaha. During the 19th and 20th centuries, when European colonialism gripped Africa, Islam became a spiritual shield and a source of resistance. Many liberation movements were inspired by Islamic principles of justice and freedom. In Senegal, Sheikh Ahmad Bamba defied French colonial rule through peaceful spiritual resistance. In Sudan, Mahdi Muhammad Ladé led a revolution against British control with the cry of jihad for justice. These movements were all rooted in the faith that first crossed the Red Sea from Makkah to Abyssinia. Today, Islam is the second largest religion in Africa, embraced by hundreds of millions across the continent, from Morocco to Mozambique. The legacy of the first pioneers, Uthman ibn Affan, Jafar ibn Abi Talib, and King Negus, remains alive as a timeless example of courage, faith, and compassion. They were not conquerors of land, but bearers of light, bringing hope and divine truth to a new world. The first movement of Islam in Africa did not begin with armies or conquest, but with faith, migration, and moral strength. The companions who journeyed to Abyssinia laid the foundation for centuries of Islamic civilization in Africa. Their story reminds us that the true power of Islam lies not in the sword, but in faith, justice, and love that touch the human heart.